Often in life, depending upon the circumstances into which one is born, the era, the family, the education that is available or unavailable, the tone and the nature of the people who surround an individual as he is growing up, one does not necessarily achieve what one had dreamt of accomplishing. And the question that comes to the fore is, at the end of that person's lifetime, exactly what defines that individual as having lived, being the personality that he was. Yaakov Avinu, running away from Esav, who seeks to kill him, given the fact that he had stolen the Bechorah, arrives at the house of Lavan, and in the house of Lavan, he makes eminently clear to his father-in-law-to-be that he desires to marry his younger daughter, Rachel Bincha Katana, the younger one whose name was Rachel, and he doesn't want any switches, he doesn't want any subterfuges. Nonetheless, as we know, the story's narration, he's fooled, he's duped. The first night after he finds himself living with not Rachel, but in the morning realizing that she is the older sister Leah. He complains to Lavan for understandable reasons, and Lavan responds to him, Malay Shvu Azos, complete this week of Sheva Brachos with Leah. Don't embarrass her. And we will give this one, Rachel, to you as well. With the work that you will yet give to me, perform on my behalf, for another 7 years. We know that he does so. And he receives Bilhah and Zilpah as well as wives. And he ultimately has his 12 sons. What's difficult to understand is the fact that Yaakov Avinu, as Avraham and Yitzchak, according to the Gemara, tells us, actually observed Torah prior to its being granted at Har Sinai, Matan Torah. And how could he possibly be married to two sisters? Answers the Ramban, that's true, but only is it effective in Eretz Yisrael. The Avos did not necessarily keep the entirety of Torah, the D'oraisas even, the biblical mitzvos, when they were living in Golus. So while he lived in Golus, he was able to be married to them. When he reaches Eretz Yisrael, that's why Rachel Imenu passes away, in order that he should not be found being married to two sisters. Comes along the Sam Sofer, however, and he says, wait a minute. In next week's Seder Vayishlach, when Yaakov sends messengers to his brother Esav and wishes to explain to him that his life has not been an easy one, and he tells them, Im Lavan garti va'ichararata, I have lived with Lavan and I have waited till now. And Rashi tells us that the word Im Lavan garti, with Lavan I have lived or sojourned, the word garti can be jumbled to form the word not garti, but rather taryag. Im Lavan garti v'taryag mitzvah shamarti. I lived with Lavan, but you should know, Esav, even though I lived with Lavan, I kept to every cross T and every dotted I in the entirety of Torah. So ask the Sam Sofer, how's that possible when he was married to two sisters? Suggests the Sam Sofer, he says, based upon the Seder of Mikes, when Yosef of Vayeshev, when Yosef has informed Yaakov Avinu and his brothers as to the dreams he's been having, which clearly indicate that he will overlord his brothers, the pasuk tells us, Vayekanivu Achav, his brothers were jealous. The Aviv and his father Yaakov Avinu, upon hearing these dreams, Shamar es hadavar. He guarded this thing. And Rashi tells us, what does it mean? He guarded the dream. Hayamamtin umetzape masayavav. He was waiting daily, umetzape, and so greatly looking forward, masayavo, when the dreams of Yosef would taka come to fruition, would indeed play out. So says the Sam Sofer, the word shamar need not necessarily mean that a person literally kept the nuances of the edict of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like we refer to a person as a Shomer Shabbos, a Shomer Kashrus, a Shomer Taras Mishpacha, but rather it could refer to the individual pining, to the individual's desire more than anything in life to be able to observe that particular command. and to be able to keep what Kodesh Baruch Hu was commanded, even though the individual may not necessarily ever succeed at being able to follow it through to fruition. This being the case, when Yaakov said to Esav, "Im Lavan Garti, v'tayag mitzvah shamarti," he was telling Esav, well, obviously I couldn't keep all the mitzvahs. I couldn't do kibbut of aim for 22 years. But when I got up in the morning, when I went to sleep, nothing was more valued by me and nothing was more important to me than waiting with bated breath to the day that I could return to Father and engage in kibbut of the aim. According to this, Rabbosai, a person's life should not necessarily, and certainly never be fully and totally evaluated in accordance with what one has achieved, but rather, in addition to what everyone has accomplished, it should be evaluated, appreciated, and understood by what was held dear by the person, by what his priorities were, by what his dreams were. And a person who was shomer umetzapa, who looked so greatly forward to being able to learn perhaps when he retired, to be able to be kovea itim, set aside time for learning properly, being able to attend a minyan, which otherwise he could not go because he had to punch in at 7 o'clock in the morning and there was no minyan where he was raised or where he lived. A person who is shomer umetzapa, you want to know, you want to test the mettle of someone? Ask him and find out what his dreams were. Not necessarily what he accomplished, but what he longed to accomplish. And if you'll do that, you'll first be able to fully and properly understand what ultimately defines someone in life. Have a wonderful Shabbat.